Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started. So first off, I just wanted to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And I wanted to thank our wonderful partner, Best Buddies, for coordinating this. We are so proud to be a partner of theirs and do this for their staff and families that are affiliated with them. We are PLAN of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and we specialize in special needs trusts. Today we're going to review special needs trusts in a little bit of a deeper detail. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to put it into the chat. We will answer those at the end. And then also we'll have our contact information up if you wanted to email us directly or call the office and speak to us about any other questions that you may have. My name is Mark Coletta. I'm the Community Relationship Manager for PLAN. I am joined by our Director of Operations, Kathy Vitello. Let's see. Today, we are going to gain a deeper understanding of what a special needs trust is, and then understand why a special needs trust is beneficial to you and your family, and then learn the responsibilities of a professional trustee like PLAN.
So PLAN of Massachusetts and Rhode Island is a nonprofit organization. We're a 501c3, and we serve as a professional trustee for individuals with disabilities of all ages in the state of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We were founded by a group of parents, originally actually in the 1960s, a group of parents that got together. They were worried about the future of their children, who was going to advocate for them, and who was going to take care of their needs, et cetera. Those are the same conversations we're still having today with parents. As far as we know, we're the oldest and largest special needs pool trust in New England. In October of 1971, we celebrated 50 years incorporated.
Our mission is we proudly serve people with disabilities, lifelong or related to illness, injury, or age, helping to preserve assets, protect benefits, and to live well.
A mission that we take to heart.
Absolutely.
So what is a special needs trust? It's, an opportunity or a vehicle. It's a way for family members to plan for the future of their disabled family member. It's a way to set aside funds in what they call a special needs trust, and for a way to protect their public benefits and make sure that there's funds available to supplement their needs. And as Mark and I go through this, we'll talk about the different kinds of special needs trusts. So in 1993, and here we go, I flubbed this up, Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, it's referred to as OBRA. This is when President Clinton signed and enacted the allowance of funds to be placed into what they call a special needs trust or a supplemental needs trust. These trusts were established so that people would be able to maintain their public benefits but still have funds available to supplement their needs. And as Mark and I go through this, we'll share little stories along the way about different beneficiaries we've worked with through the years that have benefited from the use of the trust and how they have benefited.
So what does a special needs trust do? So first off, it protects the beneficiary's assets and preserves their eligibility to public benefits. So anybody who is on public benefits knows how difficult it is, first to get them, and anyone who has unfortunately had to go through it, that lost their benefits for one reason or another, whether it was they had too much money at the time or income, it is even harder to get them back once lost. So setting up this special needs trust and allocating funds to that alleviates the concern of losing those benefits due to having too many assets. It plans for the future of the beneficiary, and it creates peace of mind for the family, knowing that the loved one will be cared for after they're gone. That's why this organization was started in the first place. Those same concerns are true today as they were back then. And having a professional trustee manage that is very important. And what differentiates PLAN from others, and I'll let Kathy speak to this, she's a little bit more well-versed, is we have staffed by licensed social workers, and Kathy is one of them. And each beneficiary has a licensed social worker assigned to them that will work with them throughout the process and really, meet them in person, understand their needs, work on budgets, work on spending plans, wish lists, introduce them to programs that they may not be aware of. The value is huge, and having that peace of mind is a key benefit to establishing this.
It's also a really big decision to decide on who your trustee is going to be, right? There's so many rules and regulations in managing a special needs trust, which we'll get to in a little while, but often families just automatically decide, well, Susie can be Bobby's trustee, she'll take care of him, et cetera. And often, I think in any relationship, when you put money in the mix, it can create conflict. And often you really want to preserve those relationships. You want them to feel like they have somebody to go to advocate for themselves. And you want somebody who really understands the rules and regulations related to the benefits that you're trying to protect. And you want your siblings to be able to go on and pursue their own goals and live their own lives. And we've had people where, they picked a brother to be the trustee for his sister. Brother got a job across the country, and that just wasn't feasible to him to be the trustee. So it's really a lot of work that goes in. It can be a full-time job, actually.
Absolutely. And keeping up with the ever-changing regulations and rules around these benefits is, it's what we do full-time. And to ask a family member who may not be trained in that area, that's a lot. So it also provides the beneficiary resources to improve their quality of life. So it sets aside money for them to do some of those things on their wish list that otherwise may be difficult if they had, constraints to the amount of money they can keep in their account.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need a special needs trust? Well, proper planning creates peace of mind, enables the beneficiary to preserve those benefits and have that improve their quality of life, and improves family relationships, as Kathy alluded to there. Having a brother, sister, aunt, uncle as the trustee, that sounds like a great idea because it's someone that you trust. However, you really want them to have that brother and sister relationship. And if you're asking them to monitor their spending and make decisions on whether a disbursement is eligible or not, and then having to say no, that can create conflict. And sometimes you just want to have that brother-sister relationship.
Yeah, so when we talk about benefits and we talk about the value of benefits, one of the things that we're looking at is statistics, right? So the Journal of Disability Policy Studies reported that an adult with a disability requires approximately 29% more income, or $18,322 per year, to maintain the same quality of life as you or I would. So you would want your special needs trust to supplement that. People who live on public benefits have to meet the poverty guidelines. So in the state of Massachusetts, that's no more than $2,000 in assets. In the state of Rhode Island, it is $4,000 in assets. So when you have a special needs trust, that's not counted as an asset. It's not looked at as a resource. And this is how you're helping to supplement somebody's needs. So public benefits have a huge value, and we will talk a little bit more about public benefits. There's so many of them, but I think the key ones that we always look at are your supplemental Social Security income, your Social Security disability insurance, and your Medicaid benefit. So supplemental Social Security income, which we call SSI, and Medicaid benefits are what we call means-tested benefits, and that means that they're looking at that asset value, right? So in Massachusetts, 2,000, Rhode Island, 4,000. So you can't have more than that. And there's great value to public benefits. There's so many programs that you can't get into unless you have your Medicaid benefit. So, we're looking at, for a lot of people, you want to enroll in DDS. It doesn't cost you to enroll in DDS, but a lot of their programs, you need to be Medicaid eligible. For SSI benefit for children, under the age of 18, from birth to 18, you can become eligible for that supplemental Social Security income. And then you would, from 18 to 19, if you were still in school, you could maintain that benefit. They may want to certify that you're still in school, but then after that, if you're disabled prior to the age of 22, you could still qualify for your SSI benefit. Now, if you have parents that have retired or passed away after the age of 18, you could apply for what we call Social Security disability insurance, and you could get up to 75% of your parents' Social Security benefit. It doesn't mean that you'll lose your Medicaid as long as you continue to be disabled. So one of the benefits of being on your parents' Social Security disability insurance is that after that 24-month period, you could become eligible to apply for your Medicare benefit as well. And people that are on SSDI can work and earn an additional $1,350 a month that doesn't impact their benefit. We all know that, as Mark said, benefits can be a very overwhelming task to apply for, but losing them and reapplying could even be more daunting. So when we look at some of the statistics, it's, according to the CDC, 26% of adults have a disability in the United States, and disability costs and healthcare expenditures can be up to $11.7 billion in the United States. So if we look at current and future needs of an individual with a disability, and we look at the value of your supplemental Social Security income benefit over a 40-year period, that could be $375,000 to $400,000. So that's a huge benefit. Medicaid pays out $277.2 billion annually, and Medicare pays out $324.7 billion annually. And non-public sources pay $266.1 billion annually. These are huge numbers. So Medicaid pays in Massachusetts $22,017 per person, and in Rhode Island $20,170 per person annually. So if you are a parent of a disabled child and you raise this child to the age of 17, the cost of raising your child with a disability can be anywhere between $176,000 to $470,000 over the average child. So we're talking about huge dollar amounts. In the lifetime of a child with an intellectual disability, it could be $2.3 million. There's all kinds of hidden costs.
And the value of those benefits is worth preserving, and having a trusted professional trustee to ensure that they continue is really going to give you peace of mind. The types of special needs trust that we offer. So we'll start with the first party, or a D4A. That's private funds for the sole benefit of a person with mental, developmental, or physical disabilities. Now, this is funded with the own person's money. So this is the beneficiaries, the money that they have personally, not their parents, not their grandparents. It's their money. This does have the Medicaid payback at the end of life. So that is one key differentiator. The other type is a third party, standalone. That's, again, it's same, allows private funds to be preserved for the sole benefit of the person with the disability, and it protects public benefits, and it's funded by a third party, so a family member or a friend. So that is a parent funding it for them, or an inheritance that is planned for with an estate planner, and there is no Medicaid payback on that one, so that's a big, huge benefit for that. And then we offer pooled trusts, or D4Cs. Now, the pooled aspect of it is basically for the investment pieces of it. That allows someone who doesn't meet the traditional asset limits that banks or an attorney may have to invest and have their money managed by a professional. There's no minimum on our pooled trusts. So you can have professional investment management without meeting those, sometimes they're $1 million, sometimes $500,000 requirement in assets in order to qualify at most banks or attorneys. So this can be funded by a first party or a third party of the pool. And each beneficiary has their own sub-account, so there is an individual aspect to it. And for individuals over the age of 65, only a nonprofit organization such as Plan can act as trustee.
So for individuals 65 and over, their only option is to use a pool trust.
Correct.
You couldn't do a D4A trust or a third-party trust. It would have to be in the pool.
So the pool trust, one of the other benefits is the affordability of it, whereas, the pooled trust has a master trust that you join. So that avoids the legal expenses of establishing your own trust. So that is a much more cost-effective way to go about this if you're, don't have $500,000 or $1 million in assets to put into it. So the examples of ways to fund the trust, life insurance. So that is what we would call a future funded trust. So you can establish the trust now, and you could fund it with either a small amount or no amount, and then have a life insurance policy upon either a parent, grandparent's death, fund that with the proceeds, and that would be considered third party, and that would be that would not have any Medicaid payback. Same for inheritances. If you have an estate plan, the inheritances can be established so it becomes from a third party, and you avoid that Medicaid payback as well. First parties would include settlements if there was an injury, some form of lawsuit that goes in your favor, and you're given money as damages for that.
So we have one more option, the future funded trust.
Sure.
Right? So as Mark said, you can do your planning, your estate planning, and fund the trust through your estate. And one of the benefits of doing it that way is to ensure that your wishes are going to be followed through. So we've seen cases through the years where families do this planning and they say, oh, we're going to, we want this portion of funds to go to the special needs trust for Johnny. And the executor of the estate says, nah, I changed my mind. I don't think that's a good idea. I'm going to manage this money. So if you do it through that beneficiary designation, you know that your wishes are going to be carried out.
Absolutely. So now you know more about special needs trust. How do you choose the right trustee? So some trustee considerations. What services are needed now, and what will be needed in the future? So this is a big one because you could look at your family dynamic now and decide that your child's brother or sister is the right person to act as trustee now. But you have to consider in the future how that person's life may change. They could have their children and their own family that's going to take time away. They could have, like Kathy said, a job that moves them across the country. They could unfortunately have their own medical issues that come up that would cause acting as trustee to be a challenge. So you're not just planning for now, you have to think about the future as well. And then what technical skills and knowledge are needed as a trustee? As we mentioned, understanding benefits, and that is an ever-changing landscape of laws and bureaucracy that you've all probably had to navigate. And that is a challenge. And keeping up with it, Kathy is on how many 100 email threads that give her updates on what's going on with Social Security or Medicaid or Mass Health. And it's always changing. And there's always a new piece of legislation that could change this or that. So understanding that, knowing that, and staying on top of it really is a full-time job. Does the individual mind have the time to dedicate to it? It's going to take some time, and you have to understand that each distribution that is made can have an impact on benefits, and you have to know what distributions are eligible.
Each benefit has its own set of rules, and they don't always agree with each other. So
Yeah, navigating that, and what we do is we'll review every single distribution to ensure that it's not going to affect those benefits. And having the knowledge and the team in place that can know that and confidently make those distributions without risk is really something that sets us apart. And a trustee can be a nonprofit, such as Plan. Again, over 65, that is the only option. But having a group of individuals working in a nonprofit that is dedicated 100% to this special needs trust operation is a huge benefit.
So we've had cases, and one in particular where parents, they did their due diligence, they made their estate plan and named a family member as trustee. Unfortunately, by the time the parents passed away, that family member was also elderly and had many of her own health issues, and felt like that she could not take on this responsibility, but wanted to do what was right by the beneficiary. And she shopped around and eventually came to Plan. And the biggest reason she chose Plan was because of the service coordinator piece. She was really comfortable with knowing that there were qualified social workers that were going to work with the beneficiary, and she was also pleased with the fact that it was much more cost effective. It's important to remember that there's lots of responsibilities with being a trustee, right, that Mark talked about. So there is, annual statements. There is the tax stuff that goes on. So it's a huge responsibility, and you want to remove that responsibility from family members. And then there's all the investing. I'd like to let Mark speak to that piece.
Sure. So the investment management piece is huge. Now, again, we work with Webster Bank, which is a well-respected, well-known regional bank who has an excellent wealth management division. They're professional money managers who are generally these types of trusts are conservatively invested. We don't like to put the money at too much risk, but we do want it to grow, and they're experts at that. And that, if you were to walk into Webster and had less than $1 million, they probably wouldn't give you the same level of service that you'd get with Plan, because we have the pooled trust option for you. So the investment management piece is a huge aspect of this that really can make a huge difference in the growth of the account and how quickly it can be liquidated.
We really take a very holistic, all-inclusive approach to managing as trustee, and having that service coordinator as your primary contact is really key, because their experience not only as social workers, but in the world of disabilities and in public benefits and advocating for people. And I think that it makes a huge difference in the service that's delivered.
So professional trustee services, the model we use is all encompassing. So it's annual statements, weekly disbursements, tax information is related to the trust, collected and forwarded to the tax preparer. The tax forms are sent out, either the grantor letter or the K-1. They're prepared for the beneficiary, the POA, to address to be used in their personal return. We're filing all annual 1041s. You receive again, the licensed social worker assigned to you from the minute the trust is opened, who is going to meet with you in person at least twice a year, if not more. We do not charge for phone calls or contact or billable hours or anything like that. It's
all inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, we have beneficiaries who call once a year. We have beneficiaries who call 5 times a day. So it really depends on the needs of the beneficiary. And again, we're not counting billable hours as an attorney may. So that's one thing to consider if you're looking at an attorney as a trustee. That tends to rack up the dollars over time. And then professionally managed investment of funds, which we touched on.
So the role of the service coordinator is really the primary contact for the beneficiary, and whoever their support is, whoever they designate as their support. And the way that we do that is we want to learn who the beneficiary is. So once a trust is funded, we contact the beneficiary and the social worker will set up a in-person visit, typically where the beneficiary lives, because we want to make sure that the beneficiary is in a safe environment, that the beneficiary is being well cared for. And we look at the immediate needs. We look at maybe some anticipated needs down the road. We look at benefits. We want to make sure they're accessing everything they're entitled to, that they're accessing programs they're entitled to, and then we work on a wish list with them. What are some of the things that, you know, that they would like to do that they haven't been able to do without the trust? And we have done some really creative, wonderful things with people: music therapy, pet therapy, art therapy, massage therapy, Reiki, alternative therapies, all of those kinds of things, trips, and things like that. And they provide guidance throughout the life of the trust. And in that first visit, and then during the life of the trust, they talk about what we call a spending plan. Okay, what are your immediate needs? And what are your plans for these funds? And how do you anticipate spending them? And then we use that as a guide, but it's a live document that we're constantly reviewing. And they work with the beneficiary on how to access the funds. And it also provides a level of protection for beneficiaries as well. We have had cases where individuals find out about the trust, and they, you know, we had one person who had a trust in the group home decided that she needed a whole brand new patio set just for herself with extra recliners and a brand new shed to store it in. So that would not be considered sole benefit, which is one of the guiding rules that we have to follow. So the service coordinator provides that level of protection as well. For those people who have future funded accounts, you still get assigned to a service coordinator, and a service coordinator will contact the donor and work on what we call a life care plan. And in that life care plan, we're going to learn all about you and the family, the beneficiary's needs, the beneficiary's providers, benefits, all of those things. And then at the very end, your wish list for the funds, what you would like to see happen with those funds. We do try to honor that to the best of our ability. And that is a document that we will update annually with you until the trust is funded.
You've decided that you want to move forward with plans. So how do you get started? Best place to, get resources, information is our website. And when you're ready and the time comes to apply, you can apply for the trust right on the website. But in the meantime, check out all the information that's on there. There's some wonderful resources, links, partners of ours like Best Buddies is on there. So there's a number of different pieces of information you can get just from our website. Plus our contact information's on there. If you had any personal questions, specific instances you wanted to review, we're always willing to do consultations, or obviously at no cost. Just if you have anything that's on your mind, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Choose an attorney to prepare the special needs trust application and documents. So if you have an attorney, great. If not, we can provide you with 3 names of special needs attorneys that we know are trusted, that know this business, that know how to draft these documents. Is an attorney always required? No, it's not. And we can work with you if you decide not to move forward with an attorney. It is recommended just for any legal documents that you're getting into. We always recommend you review it with an attorney just to do your own due diligence. But we can help you along the way determine whether that is going to be something you need or not.
Yeah, and Mark, says special needs attorney, and the example I always like to use is that if you break your bone, you're not going to go to your eye doctor to get your bone set. And attorneys are the same. They have areas of specialties and certifications. So most of the attorneys that we work with are certified in elder law and special needs law. So we're always happy to make at least 3 recommendations in your area.
Exactly. And then deposit funds into the trust is the 3rd step. And then the 4th step is you get to meet your your service coordinator, who is a licensed social worker.
So one of the reasons that, we keep talking about the third-party trust is because there is no Medicaid payback to that trust. So when when the beneficiary of a third-party trust passes away, the donor has already told us when they filled out the forms in the very beginning where the remaining funds should go. And so there's much more benefit to that. So with proper planning, you can do a third-party trust. You know, it's not the end of the world if a beneficiary has to do a first-party trust. It's just there's no Medicaid payback with a third party. ABLE, this seems to be everybody's favorite conversation these days. Achieving a better life experience. So this was passed in 2014 by the IRS. However, I don't think it opened in Massachusetts until 2017. They were slow, each state was slow to kind of open the account. They're established by, just like the 529 college fund accounts, and they're managed by NEFR and Fidelity. And they only accept cash. And they are regulated in the sense that you can only have one account, and you can not put more than whatever the IRS gift tax rate is for the year, which is currently $16,000. The only exception to that is if a beneficiary works, and again, this is based on whatever the poverty guidelines are annually. Right now, if a beneficiary works, they can deposit an additional $12,880 into the account. Now, ABLE has what they call a Medicaid clawback. It's like in teeny tiny print. The clawback means that from the date that you establish your ABLE account, if you pass away, Medicaid can come back from the date you established your ABLE account to be repaid for what they paid out. ABLE will protect your benefits up to $100,000. Once you exceed $100,000, your benefits get suspended. You don't lose them, but they do get suspended. You will lose your benefits if your ABLE account goes over $500,000. ABLE has a list of what they call qualified disability expenses. So it really has to be used for what they consider those qualified disability expenses, like medical co-pays and things like that. However, so we talked about the supplemental Social Security income earlier. So one of the restrictions with that SSI benefit is that if you receive assistance for rent, food, or utilities, you risk getting a up to 30% decrease in your SSI benefit. However, your ABLE account is the exception to that rule. So you can use your ABLE account for rent, food, and utilities. So your pooled trust or your special needs trust, you can have as many as you want. You can have as much as you want. You can have $1 billion in there. It's not going to impact your benefits. And your distributions, as long as they're not going to impact your benefits, your benefits can be used for anything. It can be used for a vacation, can be used for new technology, some of the alternative therapies we talked about. And it's a great relationship because your special needs trust can fund your ABLE account annually if need be. And what one restriction, the other doesn't have that restriction. So they really complement each other very, very well.
Thank you all for taking the time today to listen to us talk about this. On this screen here, you'll see our contact information. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. My email is there, Kathy's email is there, our phone number, our website. Just feel free to send us any questions that you have now or you think about later. That would be excellent. We do have some questions that came during registration, and then we have some in the chat. So let's see, the questions during registration. Specifics about services to facilitate care as an adult child ages. So
that's a difficult question to answer because we would really need to, the child would need to be assessed, or the individual would need to be assessed based on their needs. So that there's no black and white answer to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, feel free, whoever sent that, if you had a more specific instance, either type it in the chat or email us and we can get you.
Yeah, email us or set up a phone call and we can talk more in detail about that if you'd like.
Absolutely. So when should you start a special needs trust?
Whenever you want.
Yeah, I mean, the sooner the better. I'd say the most common comment that we receive when we're out at events is, I've been meaning to do this, and I know I need to do this, but I haven't started it yet. So yeah, the sooner the better is probably the best answer.
So, you know, and one of the things about a third-party trust, it doesn't matter who sets it up, because it's third-party, anybody can contribute to that
Yep.
trust.
From the chat, let's see. If a third-party trust is future funded by life insurance of parent, how do future inheritances or donations to the trust work after the death of the parent? So I'm guessing that is if once the trust is funded with the life insurance policy and the parent has passed, can additional monies be put into that trust? And the answer is yes.
Yes, as long as they come from someone other than the beneficiary.
Correct. Yep. Is plan required to work with a coordinator other than the beneficiary if the beneficiary is determined to be competent, even though these decisions are well beyond their competency? So if there's a guardian or
Power of attorney, or, you know, the supported decision-making people involved in a lot of lives. So, however, if the beneficiary is deemed competent and allowed to make their own decisions, then they have to give permission for the trust to work with other people as well.
And if we receive the permission, we will work
More
with
than happy to.
whomever is in that person's life.
And we actually encourage that. We encourage people to have support on the outside.
Sure. And we'll give a couple seconds more for anyone who does have a question. All right. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out if you think of something later that you want to ask. Again, thank you all for attending. Thank you, Best Buddies, for being a wonderful partner. And yeah, we hope to hear from you in the future, and we'd be happy to provide you guidance whether you go with plan or not. We're here to help.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Thank you.